I'd like to thank everyone for coming out, and Dad? Boy, I've come all this way to ask you one question. Are you ready to join the family business? Well, I just got this job, so I'm not really looking to... But I brought the uniform, son. I brought the uniform. I just got this uniform, though. It's the uniform. I just don't think this is me, Dad. Could the uniform be black? Shh. It's beautiful. Longing. Rusted. 17. Dorkside. Toys. Pre-order. Okay, people, welcome back to another Fwoosh review. Today, let's take a look at the Hasbro Marvel Legends Disney Plus wave. The bigger the wave, the further the camera's back. And Hasbro, woo, you've got to slow down. Those words just come out of my mouth. We either get new reveals, new pre-orders, or waves just falling on top of each other. But what's nifty about this wave releasing at the exact same time as the Marvel Legends supervillain Zemo wave, there's something for everyone. This is all live action MCU Disney Plus characters. And if you only collect these, then woo, yay! We don't have to buy half these comic characters in order to get the figures that you want. But if you're a comic collector, there is the supervillains wave, and that was all comic books. For people who do both, it's just... Looking at this wave, we have Loki. Back here is Winter Soldier. There's Scarlet Witch from WandaVision. Hiding back here is Vision from WandaVision. Captain America from Falcon and Winter Soldier. USAgent from Falcon and Winter Soldier. And then back here, always in the background, causing trouble, there's Baron Zemo. Packages what we're used to. There's a window. There's some Marvel Legends logos. On the side, here's the character art. Some are more accurate than others. On the back, those same pictures giving us a bigger look at each one of them, and then bios for each character letting us know what's going on with each one. Have the characters in the wave down here with the Build-A-Wing, each sold separately. Attention, danger, warning, small parts. Is anybody sick of this yet? Don't put them in your mouth. On the other side, it's the same pictures. But let's start it off with Loki. Did you have any doubt? Not that I don't like Loki, but he does seem to be the most obvious case of reuse. Or maybe he's not the most exciting looking character in the wave. And basically, it's a suit we've already seen with a new jacket, new tie, new head. With that out of the way, we can go to WandaVision White Vision. I'm just kidding. Really, it's Loki in a suit. That's what it boils down to. It's a body that we've gotten before. In fact, it is complete reuse of the Captain Marvel younger Nick Fury, except for the jacket and the tie, and then the heads, of course. The hands are reused. The same relaxed hand on the left, trigger finger on the right. You know, just in case Loki needs to go in guns a-blazing. Underneath the jacket, Fury had a holster and some ammo on the other side, and that's the same for Loki. It's just not painted, but you'll never see it because the jacket closes around it. The overlay on the torso, the jacket part of it, is new. It's got the popped-up collar. It's kind of a windbreaker look instead of the straight-on suit. Got some pockets on the side, on the back. It has a seam line running down the middle, across, and then variant. And that goes along with this, well, I'm getting up close, and it is that, is it that logo? The Variance Authority? And then the tie is new. It's a tie, but the knot up top is different. It's flat on the end instead of going down to a point. And honestly, I don't know ties. Don't even know how to tie a tie. I wear a tie every few years, and even that's kind of, hey, could somebody tie this tie for me? But other than that, it's sleeves for the jacket. It has some wrinkles on it. These are legs going down to feet that have shoes on them. I feel like I'm going over basic anatomy. The knee joint's connected to the lower leg. Slight laces to them, little detail. But I get up to the belt, and the black is painted, and it's shiny, like it's a leather, and I love the buckle. Now this could be messy paint, but I'm going with kind of a rusty bronze or brass or something. I'm calling it a patina. Benefit of the doubt, baby. But really the big draw here is the Loki head. And it's a good job. The likeness is there. I always think he's got a lot of forehead, but then I realize, oh, he's got a lot of forehead. Personal preference, I wish the hair was more relaxed instead of blowing to the side a little, but it's not too bad. It's not flying way out here. But it is an upgrade from this Loki. This one always felt like the face was drowning in its own head. This one's a bit more balanced, a bit more realistic. Going over articulation, there is a ball joint at the top of the head with a hinge going down into the neck. Got the collar sticking up a bit, got the hair hanging down. Shift back and Loki does look up. Looks down, still got the tilt going on. Swivel, hinge at the shoulder, very, very tight out of the package, but does go slightly past 90. Rotates around, swivel at the bicep, double elbow, all the way up. Swivel at the wrist, and then in and out hinge on a trigger finger hand. I'm never gonna give him a gun, so that's okay. Hinge at the mid-torso, goes forward, back a little. Swivel at the waist, ball coming out to the hip, goes forward, goes back, goes out. Swivel at the thigh, double knee. Not quite, but you can force it to bong. Hinge at the ankle, goes back, and you would think the pants cuff would get in the way, but no, that's all the way. Forward, oh, that's where it gets in the way. Forward facing pin for rocker. For accessories, I'm gonna wait for the size and comparisons till the end, which means now we're moving on to the WandaVision White Vision. Why does Scotch tape vex me so? Oh, cape through the trays. I don't like it. When this figure was first revealed, I thought, well, okay, whatever. Then when I started looking closer, and now that I have it in hand, this is an upgrade to the same figure. But it's not just the white. There is some new sculpted pieces. It makes a huge difference, I think. The front of the cape is most obvious. It has a different sculpt to it. It's more accurate for the show. And then the cape itself, this had more kind of lines and everything running sideways and every which way. This is much more just straight up and down, more vertical lines. It does kick in here, but it's much cleaner. And the translucency works a lot better because, well, there's not any color to it. For me, the big difference is the head. This is much more accurate to Paul Bettany in the Vision suit. The shape is better, the size is better, the details are better. Getting super close, one of the few paint apps, the blue, is a bit off center. They did add white to the eyes, and that makes them stand out a little bit more from the slightly cream color of the body. It adds so much personality. But the body was no slouch either. It had the basketball texture to it, the circuitry-like seam lines running in places, the extra bits. This is all the same detail that we saw in the first one, but seeing it in white, well, maybe it goes back to me being a sucker for prototypes when we see them in grayscale or something. You can appreciate the sculpt itself here. I still think that the cream color to here and to the boot tops and then the belt, which seems a little bit more metallic. I've always thought that adds too much contrast. It may be slightly dark. Well, I originally thought, why is that even cream in the first place? But looking at the show, it does seem that those places are a little darker than the rest of the bodysuit. Maybe this is what it looks like in normal lighting. It's easy to look at the original Vision and think he's small because of the head size. That's what made me think it was a smaller scale when I would see it on the shelf. But Paul Bettany is about 6'3". This figure runs between 6¼ and 6½ inches tall, which is the right scale. This, with the bigger head, does so much for the proportions and how he's gonna look with other characters. Again, I'm doing all the size and comparisons at the end. One of the things that I did with the old one, I may do with this one, is glue the front of the cape down. It is pinned in the back, but if it clicks forward once at the torso, it starts kind of riding off of it. Vision always has proper posture. So he's arced back slightly, the cape lays naturally, this stays on the chest, but if you're in action poses or something, that's going to start coming away. So I may glue that down. Not a huge deal. Going over articulation, there is a ball at the top going into the skull, hinge in the neck. Look at this. Bury the chin. Unfortunately, not a lot of tilt because there's no room up in the skull. Can swivel. Hinge at the shoulder goes out about right there. Swivels around, but the cape's going to stop it. Swivel at the bicep, double elbow comes most of the way up. Swivel at the wrist, hinge at the mid-torso, goes forward, whoa, way back. Swivel at the waist, ball coming out to the hip, goes forward, back, out, oh, best of the wave so far. Swivel at the thigh, very tight, double knee, yeah, not a problem. Hinge at the ankle, goes back, goes forward facing pin for rocker. For accessories, Vision comes with two very splayed out hands. Just pop those out, and that gives them two fists. I love the look of this. It's crazy how much I love the look of this. From here on out, it gets harder to pick who I want to open up next, but let's go with Winter Soldier. Get some Bucky action going on. I beat you this time, cellophane. All new sculpt, works perfectly for Bucky. It's very Bucky-esque. Have the blue upper jacket, and there is more detail than you expect. Once you get it in the light and moving it around, there's all kinds of wrinkles and seams and padding. The leather texture running everywhere that just pops out in the light. It could have just been flat surfaces with a zipper and strap, but no, there is all kinds of stuff happening here. With Bucky, the focal point is the arm. Stuff like this is just frosting on the cake. The pants by comparison are a little plain, but that's the show. Hasbro still put in a lot of wrinkles and a lot of realistic folds to it. I just realized they dropped the swivels way down on the leg, but was that to miss this detail running on the front. I love the boots for some reason. But like I said, the focal point, besides that face, is the metal arm. And I'm gonna say it, this thing's beautiful. The slick gunmetal look to it, it reflects all the light, and then the gold running in the seam lines. I just can't stop looking at it. It completely works. I'm a huge fan of the older silver arm look, but this, there's something downright magical about it. Then we get to the head, and Sebastian Stan. Man, come on. Make your face easier to translate into plastic. You got that Mark Hamill effect going on. In some angles, it looks damn close. In other angles, it seems to go kind of Arnold with it. I'm not sure what's going on with that, but I will say this is better than what we got with the SH Figure Arts. I am noticing that the hair is sitting slightly above the ears. It's kind of worse on this side. It is a separate piece, and I can see some seam line right there, so it may be sitting slightly high on mine. Yeah, that may be heated up and find out. Oh, big old peg and trench right there. I'll have to wait to do that during a play day or something. They did the dumbbell joint at the top of the neck, which I'm okay with. It's a cleaner presentation when it comes to the cranium and what holds it up. Yeah, I got sick of saying head and neck. But if you're going to do a dumbbell joint, you got to have a ball down at the bottom. And it may have a ball joint down there, but if there is, it doesn't really do anything. You got to have that to compensate for what the dumbbell can't move. And here, you can't really look down. There's some up. It's natural feeling, but you got to have both. You can't have one or the other. Now go stand in the corner, Hasbro. But while we're talking about that, articulation-wise, again, dumbbell joint at the top of the neck. Look up, not a lot of down. Tilt. Swivel. Hinge at the shoulder comes up past 90. Swivels around. Rotation at the bicep. Double elbow comes up most of the way. Swivel at the wrist, up and down. I'm just kidding, it's side to side. Why is it side to side? Trigger finger hand. Bucky may not come with a gun, but I'm gonna find something to go in that hand. How about some Star Wars blaster? There we go. It's gotta go up and down. Robo's in a bad mood today, sounds like. No, I'm not in a bad mood. It's just that I ran into two things I don't like right off the bat with this figure. Hinge at the mid-torso goes forward, goes back. Swivel at the waist. Ball at the hip comes out, goes up to 90. That's the worst back I've seen all day. Out. Not quite vision, I don't think. Swivel at the lower thigh. Double knee comes up. Easy. Swivel at the boot. Hinge at the ankle goes all the way back. Goes forward. Forward facing pin for some rocker. For accessories in the package, Winter Soldier comes with a right trigger finger hand and a left fist. Replace them with other hands. And with that, you get a right fist and a left gripping hand, which is obviously sculpted to hold a weapon. I'm gonna have to steal a gun from somebody. Next up, it just feels natural to open up Baron Zemo. As I get the tray out, I realize he's probably the winner for accessories, at least so far. Oh, is that Han coming out of carbonite? And messing around with this for a bit is a bit traffic cone, so it's not the most action-packed action figure I've ever opened. But being who it is, and what he does for most of the show, I'm kinda okay with him standing there. Well, I'm sure somebody's worked wonders with this thing, but me, he's gonna be just plotting and scheming and standing off to the background. Much like Bucky, it's details that I didn't realize was on it in the show. There's a seam line running down across the shirt with some bunch up at the collar, just plain wrinkles to the rest of the shirt. The pants tried to trick me though. I don't know if it's the trench coat laying over it or what, but I was about to say, yeah, it looks like new sculpt to the pants, but it is actually the tried and true suited body that started with Coulson. But I think the crotch piece itself is new. I don't recognize that belt buckle. Not sure about the shoes either. Have we seen that somewhere else before? But it's got the strap running over the top with the buckle on the other side. The sleeves also feel different than what we've seen before. It's got the big old double elbows in there. Other than that, it's some wrinkles. And then a nice seam line running around the back. It looks like it's been sewn. The back of the jacket, fairly plain, and really the whole jacket is. It's purplish, or it has a purple inside liner, and then the fur going around the collar. On the back, it's a bunch of seam lines running, and if this guy was walking away from you, you wouldn't think anything about it, but it being the MCU, of course, there's some oddball shapes thrown in. The head sculpt, though, oh man, they nailed it. The eyes may be slightly wide, or the pupils large something, and he has a very unemotional look to him, but at the same time, Baron Zemo doesn't have time for your shit. What's crazy is it almost seems that there is some purple wash in the brown. There's a slight tint that helps it blend in with the rest of the costume, or well, the rest of the clothing. Like I mentioned, it is traffic cone because of the jacket. It does spread open and you can do some things with it, but if you get too crazy, it turns into, you know, Wicked Witch of the West. Quidditch! And one thing that I thought would bug me more is that the neck is purple, and that's for the alternate head. When he pulls the mask down, it covers all the way down to there. Couldn't really get around that without doing a whole swappable neck piece, and they weren't going to do that for a regular release. They could have went skin tone with that, but then you put the mask on, and that would have looked weird. So here, it almost seems like he's pulled his collar up just a little bit more. I think this was the better way to go. But again, dumbbell joint at the top of the neck. Needs that ball down in the torso. Can look slightly up, slightly down. But oh, so much tilt. And then, of course, swivels. Hinge at the shoulder comes up. What's going on there? To there? That's the sculpt hitting right there. Rotates all the way around. Swivel at the bicep. Double elbow. Oh, all the way. In the package, trigger finger hand, so they put the appropriate up and down hinge on there. Too bad that the sleeve is so deep, it only gets about right here. Hinge mid-torso comes forward about there, back a little. Swivel at the waist. Ball at the hip comes forward, back, out. He just won the wave, look at that. Swivel at the thigh. Double knee. Snotty. Beam him up. Double knee comes up. Can't quite kick his ass. It's close though. Hinge at the ankle goes back. Forward. It does run into the pants leg right there. Forward facing pin for rocker. For accessories in the package, like I said, trigger finger on the right hand, pointer finger on the left. And for alternate hands, there are 2 fists. I wasn't expecting this. It's the red book with Bucky's trigger words in it. And that actually fits in the hand pretty well. Yes. Then there's this gold pistol that isn't really what we saw in the show, but it's gold and it's a pistol. I think this is reused from something though. And then finally, pop the head off and the mask easily goes on. I said easily goes, just get on there, you son of a... That's where the purple matches the neck for this mask. I mean, that just calls back to classic Baron Zemo, right? Maybe slightly small. It doesn't really fit the shape of his face, but I still like the look of this. I'm not going to be able to resist putting them on the shelf like this. Next up, let's take a look at Scarlet Witch. She comes with a few accessories too. That's pretty cool. This may be the figure that we nitpicked the most when it was first revealed. There are some details here that are very much concept art. Not quite accurate to what we saw in the show, but I was going to say damn close. I think costume-wise, with the good old MCU basketball texture and then some seams and some overlays here, it's very close. It definitely evokes the feeling from the show. If anything, when it comes to the body, it's the colors that are slightly off. Like these angles that point up on the legs, they should be a silver or a different color of some kind. But again, they're there, and they do reflect the light slightly different. The boots start up here and then cut down. The seam runs down the leg and then it doubles up on top of the boots. That same design work from the torso wraps around the arms, sleeves coming down to the gloves, and those are painted a different red. The skirt piece is glued around the waist. Oh no, it is actually part of the lower torso. So is this an overlay? Looks like it is. The detail work runs back and around the black stripe along with the different colored red. I like the slight contrast that adds. The paintwork around the collar, you get up close in the macro lens under a magnifying glass and you can see some messiness, but at normal distance, standing on the shelf, very intricate, very well done. There's also some silver to the buckle of the pants, and I didn't notice it at first. Once you see it though, it's the same kind of intricateness. I like how it just adds to the overall scheme. Really, this is the focal point. They did an amazing job with this photo reel. Looks just like Wanda from the show. The way the eyes are done, the lips, the skin tones, even that's fantastic. Again, I'm not a fan of hair doing action type things. This coming out like this is okay, but I like it because it's symmetrical. It's not weighty to either side. It doesn't offset things, and really, it's a nice sculpt all the way around. The waves and the curls, very nice. Also with the wash too. Then there's the headdress. The sculpt to it, it's nice. It takes some light for you to see the actual detail of it. And I'm okay with the shape, the style, the sculpt to it, even though it may be slightly off. What throws it for me is that it's sitting a little lower than we saw in all the pictures. And that boils down to just seeing some skin right there. I would be okay if the hair came down to it like that, or if this was raised up slightly. And no, there's not an easy way to just move it up. I think the way it's glued, if you peeled it off, you're going to have some bare plastic or some glue residue, something right there. If not a pinhole, I'm not sure what's under there. I guess what I'm saying is, this is a nice representation of an MCU Scarlet Witch. At my old age, I'm getting less critical all the time of little details like that. I'll point them out and I notice them, but as an action figure, I'm like, okay, that's a WandaVision Wanda. It may make me a shitty reviewer, but it makes me a happy collector. Going over articulation, you can already see that the hair does get in the way, but there is a dumbbell joint at the top of the neck, and it does look like the neck is a separate piece going into the torso, but again, I don't think there's a ball down there. I can't seem to get any extra movement out of it. Look up that far. This just all gets in the way. Looks down about there. I think there would be some tilt, but shoulder, 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 shoulder. Swivel. Hinge at the shoulder comes up slightly past 90. Swivels all the way around. Hinge and swivel at the elbow comes up to right there and then rotates in and out. Swivel to the wrist with a hinge on the outside. Dumbbell joint mid-torso does get nice hula hoop, but you're going to get more back than, well, crunch isn't terrible. That's also where your rotation is. Hip at the ball, hip at the ball. Ball at the hip goes forward. Back, the skirt gets in the way. Out, swivel at the thigh. Double knee. Oh, I think she would kick her ass if she could. Hinge at the ankle goes back. Whoa, way forward. And then forward facing pin for rocker. For accessories, like I already talked about, there's some spell casting hands. Those pull out. And then there's some pink power mystical magical hands. Then these two power effects that we've seen several times. I'm not even sure if I'm going to get these back on the arms the way they had them, but that's the cool thing about these. You can wrap them around an arm, wrap them around a leg, wrap them wherever you want to put them. As long as you like it, it's okay. In fact, down around the hand like that, where it looks like her hand is a part of the magic, that may be shelf worthy right there. Yeah, like that. In fact, I think I may have them on the wrong side from what they came in the package, but this makes me happy, so who cares? I really like that. Oh, it's coming down to the wire, but we're gonna look at USAgent, or John F. Walker. Scotch tape! And I've always loved the USAgent costume, whether it was the Captain way back in the day, USAgent, all the various different looks that Walker went through over the years, and then even in the MCU. It has that dark Captain America feel to it. Nemesis Cap. And this figure does a great job of bringing it to plastic form. There's obviously some things wrong, but we'll get to that. Because figure-wise, the detail, the articulation, oh, I'm going behind the camera. Mwah. There's the star that overlaps onto the shoulder strap perfectly. I mean, just like in the show, it's half on the costume, half on the strap. Comes out to that armored type look. He's got some shoulder pads happening, the seam line coming down, gauntlets on the outside. The belt is a separate piece, and at first I thought it was glued to the upper torso because it came out of the package like this, which is okay, but I'm more a fan of dropping it down slightly. Give us more torso, makes them look a little bit tougher. I'm glad they didn't glue it down because you have options there, but it fits the costume well. It doesn't stick out too much, it blends right in. The legs have almost a fatigues look to them, slightly baggy, big, bulky. Are those pouches again on the side right there? Comes down to some knee pads that are a slightly different sheen, or it reflects the light different because it has some texture to it. Down to the boot, has a red stripe running around the top with some silver screen above it. Boots are also cool, have some gaiters to them. Haha, I learned that word last week, but it has this cover around the top that comes down over the foot part. On the back, there's a star and then straps coming down and around it, the red coming in again, some basketball texture to it, silver on the back of the belt, just all the details you would expect on the back corresponding with the front. There is this pistol in a holster on the right hip. No, it doesn't come out. In fact, it's all one sculpted piece. He comes with a trigger finger, no gun. I guess you could have him kind of quick draw. I'm your Huckleberry. Russell, Tombstone. I know that was Doc, shut up. Up at the head, even though we only see his eyes, his nose, his mouth, and his ears, it looks very much like John Walker under the helmet. It even does that thing where it looks like the helmet is pushing down on the ears, kind of poking them out a bit. But again, this is a victim of concept art. They had to work with preliminary sketches in order to get the action figure out close to the show. With that, it's not so much sculpt. Well, okay, I will say it's sculpt because that's not supposed to be on the helmet. The A was taken off whenever he went to USAgent costume. The star is supposed to be more of a gunmetal black, just slightly different than the rest of the costume, and then the white stripes are missing. In fact, it's correct on the package. There's no emblem up here on the forehead, and then the white stripes. In fact, where the red stripes are on the figure, those should be white. The black stripes should be red. But then down here, it still doesn't have the emblem on the forehead, which is right, but no white stripes. So that probably came down to the figures had already been manufactured, but still time to change the packaging. I will say that the dumbbell joint works slightly better here than we saw with Bucky. Maybe it's because of no hair. Maybe it's because there's more room in the skull or something. It's set up to where he has more articulation all around. And speaking of that, hula hoop in the head, so much tilt. I saw the shoulder pad and thought it may get in the way, but comes up past 90, rotates all the way around, swivel at the bicep, double elbow, gauntlet gets in the way, but still most of the way. Swivel at the wrist, in and out for a trigger finger hand. It's almost like, hey, we didn't give him a gun, so we're not gonna go up and down with it, because they did that with Bucky too, huh? Oh, that may be the actual thinking. Hinge at the mid-torso goes forward, back, rotation at the waist, and doing that work the belt up, damn it. Ball at the hip goes forward, back, out, swivel at the thigh, big, old double knee, but still can't get past there because of the sculpt of the legs. Swivel at the boot, hinge at the ankle goes all the way back, forward facing pin for rocker. For accessories in the package, he comes with a trigger finger right hand or some kind of gripping hand, and then comes with a grip left. And with that, he comes with 2 fists, which I'll probably leave in because that's all the accessories he has. He didn't actually have a USAgent shield in the show, so I'm okay with him not coming with that, but damn gun, come out of the holster. And then last, but definitely not least, Captain America. And he's last because I absolutely love this costume. Yeah, it just looks awesome. And this may be the most accurate of the wave. Looking at the little details on Sam, I think they got most of them in there. It has that armored look that we saw in the show. Blues and the reds, and especially the whites. It just stands out nicely. Got some stars sculpted on the shoulders in silver. That goes down to red gauntlets with silver on the back of those too. Again, the belt is a separate piece, but I love that they leave it loose. If you hate that it kind of flops around when you're moving it around, you have the option to glue it down. I'd much rather put it in a place that I want and glue it down than to have them pick where it is and it be off or crooked or somewhere. Especially if it's on a joint like that. It kind of rides up whenever you move the articulation, but you get back to posing and push it down slightly. But under that, the seams on the pants coming down, again, the MCU is going to do all kinds of detail. They don't want you to get bored when you're looking at any of the costumes. Is that meant to emulate Captain America's ear wings a little bit? But then it brings back the red and the silver down here. It's a very overall Captain America look with some Falcon elements brought in, which it should be, right? Stuff in the show that you see just whiz by or you're not paying attention to, you see on the action figure and suddenly it's all new again. Is this to help with turning or thrust or something? And back, there's white, there's blue, some again, very interesting for the back of somebody. Then just like in the show, the cowl comes up, the ears are sticking out. The top of the head, which if there was any aspect of this costume I don't like, it's the head sticking out. And I kind of get it, but at the same time, he's always flying forward. So I would think that that would be the place you want to protect the most. But what do I know? It still makes for a cool costume. The red lenses are slightly translucent, so you can see the eyes under there. That's a badass effect. I do have some messy paint on this side, so I may try to touch that up just a bit. I like how the collar and the neck kind of emulates that look from the show where it's almost Batman Begins. Like he only has this much head movement. The rest of it's going to be like this. Oh, what? But then paintwork on the body's also mostly clean. Maybe some messiness there and there. Trouble you run into when it comes to white paint. The reds and the silvers all look good. I miss the silvers up on the shoulders. Kind of the strap coming down for when we put the backpack on, or the flight pack, whatever. I think the thing that stands out at me the most, though, are the proportions. I just love the silhouette here. The stance, the overall look, it just works. Going over articulation, there is a dumbbell joint at the top of the neck, but maybe because of how long they made the dumbbell or how much room there is in the skull, we do get more movement than Bucky. There's up, down, rotation, hinge at the shoulder, but if you just pull up, the sculpt's going to run into each other. You got to kind of work that into the torso. Another bump in the sculpt. Also get that one in if you really want to raise it up. What I'm afraid of there is the yeah, I got some scratching right there. Do it too much and it may just peel some paint. Rotates all the way around, swivel at the bicep, double elbow comes up to there. Swivel at the wrist, hinge in and out. Hinge mid-torso, good click forward. Arcs back, rotation at the waist. Ball at the hip comes up to there and then back and then out. There's a swivel at the thigh. Double knee comes up. That's going to run into, yeah, I could see it before it even hit. Hinge at the ankle goes back, goes forward facing pin for some rocker. And of course, he's Captain America. He comes with his shield. It has that updated look for the shield with the details in the star. And then these little kicks right here around the ring. I need to go back to the show and look, but it seems the red isn't as deep as I remember, but that may be correct. Inside we have that familiar setup of big strap, little strap. That just goes on the arm, and oh, is that made to hold that? Beautiful. Then it also comes with his flight pack. Got a pin on the back, got a peg hole in his back. If it was packed like this, I would have wondered if it even came off. That looks nice. Okay, building the wing, I probably should have kept them all separate as I opened them because it has the numbers that correspond with the characters the piece came with. Of course, I just threw them in a pile as I went along. Oh, how about the stand first? That seems easy. It looks like the way this is cut on bottom, you would think, oh, those letters are going to face up, but no, those go down. This ridge comes up, and this should plug in right there. This looks like the edge goes on the top, and I'm guessing that's right because right there the red has a mark through it, like right here, whereas if I use the other one, it's a solid red. So with that, I can guess that the joints face back. Are these different in any way, or are these interchangeable? I think those are the same. That leaves this side with this going here, this going here, which means that plugs there, and this plugs here. Plug this one in here. That doesn't feel near as stable as the regular backpack, which I guess with the stand, it's actually the pack holding the figure up. And the stand's high enough for him to have his feet on the ground, but hold the weight of the wings. The wings aren't super heavy. Standing straight up, they do pull back a bit because of the weight. If you angle forward, maybe. Yeah, how about this? I guess Red Wing plugs in right here somehow. It's got a kind of an L tab. Goes in one direction. It's not the strongest connection, but it does hold for a minute. Kind of cool that it hovers above. Yeah, it won't take much stress. Yeah, it should have been a hole on top. Go deeper, then you could have rotated any which way you wanted to go. I heard some people say that they were kind of floppy or weak, or I don't seem to have that problem. Well, I mean, yeah, but at least they stay in position when I have it posed. Can't really have Red Wing flying forward. I don't know if I like this. I do like the wings though. The colorful, the silvers, the blues, the reds, it all matches into the uniform. And they're pretty substantial, but on the back, there's articulation to bring the wing like this, but you can't do the other one because it runs into the first one. And you can't go up either. It was designed to specifically do this, the stab forward thing. As long as you go forward and back into position, that's where it stays together. You go back and try to bend it back, it starts coming apart. Also, if you take the big loop of the shield, put it on bottom, loop it under this point right here, and then take the smaller loop, you gotta find the sweet spot for it. It's not really easy to find. It will display like that if you want it on his back, on the shelf, or in a pose or something. It's not gonna hold up to a lot of shaking, but it does hold on there, as long as you don't move it too much. Size-wise, the wings stretch about 15 inches, which isn't quite as impressive as the other Build-A-Wing we've gotten, but this works for Captain America. That works for Vulture. Okay, standing them up side by side. Wyatt Russell is about 6'2", 6'3", somewhere in there, so he's appropriately larger than Sebastian Stan at 6 foot. Daniel Bruhl is about 5'9", supposed to be shorter. Elizabeth Olsen, 5'6", shorter, works. Paul Bettany is 6'3", 6'2", he's taller than 6 foot. The Loki figure fits. Tom Hiddleston is 6'2", again, he's about the same height. The thing that stands out for me is Anthony Mackie at 5'10". He should be shorter than these two and these two. And he ends up about the same size. But he's not towering over anybody. In fact, he's shorter than USAgent, so he kind of skews in there. It bugs me whenever they're super tall or super short. This altogether, this is believable when you think of the characters and the shows. Looks good next to other versions of Captain America, though. Same for USAgent, who is a couple of inches taller than Chris Evans. In-game Cap is coming off short a lot, though, lately. Bucky looks fantastic with the other caps. And then here he is with the Marvel Legends Infinity War Winter Soldier and the SH Figure Arts version. Here's Loki with the Marvel Legends Loki and Thor, and at that time, they were making all the Asgardians huge, so seeing them bring it down a little makes me want new Thors and new Lokis. Because this body still has some size to it, some height, it's taller than the in-game Captain America, and then here's Zemo to give you an idea of how big he is compared to those. Then there's Wanda and Vision. This looks like a natural progression from this costume, this look, to this one. And it's the same for Vision. It looks like it goes from this to this. The new head, again, does wonders for the proportions. So at the end of the day, if you're into the MCU, if you're into Disney Plus and you like getting action figures based on characters that you like from those movies and shows, this wave is for you. Okay, Loki isn't the most exciting, but that show hasn't even come out yet. So I figure, again, they're working off that initial trailer, that initial concept stuff, but they also don't want to spoil anything. It just ends up as dude in suit, I say, as we focus on Zemo, but his is a little bit more costumey. It evokes more of the comic book style. Plus, nitty gritty, you can put this head on it and make it even more exciting, so there is that. Bucky has the same designs from the show. Damn, I can't deny it. This is a fine figure. John F. Walker, USAgent, does have its problems. It's not accurate, and it's obviously not accurate, but I love this figure. So I'm either going to customize it to make it even better, or I'm going to wait for that eventual apology figure. But watch, the next time he shows up, he'll be in this costume, and then we'll all be hoping for his first appearance USAgent costume. Wanda also has her inaccuracies, but if you haven't watched the show over and over and over 600 times, the details start to bleed into this. Vision, I like this way more than I ever thought I would. The new head just does it for me. As long as that head size matches the rest, it feels way more in scale than it did. Just that dead stare, oh, it's so good. But I think Captain America's my favorite of the wave. I like the costume the best, the whites, the blues, the skin tones, the likeness. I know the goggles are on, but overall, this reminds me of the show most out of all these figures. And yeah, the wings could be more agile, I guess, to go all over the place. They're really just meant to glide and then come down for that stabby part. It still looks good with the figure. Sure, we could have got another character. Build-A-Wing is okay, but ooh, I heard somebody else was behind it all along, and I would have liked to seen her as the Build-A-Figure, because we needed Agatha, especially in that last costume. They go back and do a lot of the missing MCU stuff, so maybe in a year or so, we'll get Agatha in all her purple goodness. You like my magic? And if you're a comic collector, pass on by. There'll be more stuff for you coming right around the bend. In fact, there's a little thing called a Supervillains wave that I reviewed last week. Go check that out. And if you're wanting those or these, hit up Dorkside Toys, because they'll get you some action figures. If you enjoyed the review, comment, like, subscribe. Much love to the plus if you're interested in seeing videos early or in a position to help out the channel, patreon.com. But wherever you may be watching this, I'll always catch you on the Fwoosh. Okay, I forgot to mention the Red Wing thing. Not happy about that. It's there. It exists. That's about the best I can say about that. I may try to do some hole drilling or something, some kind of other stand thing, or a stand by itself where you can put it anywhere. I don't know. And I'm going to end up customizing USAgent, ain't I?